I would like to invite Professor Perez to join us online if she is available.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be here. I think we would all agree that innovation and development policy, like everything else, moves with the times. And today I will argue that we must recognize policy innovation itself as an object of study. I would like to make 4 points. First of all, that the goal is development. Innovation is only an instrument. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. Then I would like to look at what I think is obviously a difference between business innovation and socio-political innovation, which perhaps we haven't given enough attention to. As a third point, I'd like to look at something that I've been working on for a very long time, which is the idea that opportunities for development are a moving target, which is, of course, behind what I will argue today. And finally, something very practical. I think we need to separate top-down innovation and bottom-up innovation to understand the differences between them and to make sure that both in the way we promote them and who promotes them, we recognize the difference. So to begin with, the promotion and support of innovation must occur within a development strategy, which may contain several directions or missions. Obviously, the whole idea of a development strategy is something that is interconnected. It isn't just a general intention, nor can we just say, let's innovate in general. Each strategic direction is likely to require dozens of innovations, from the boldest and most important radical ones to the minor incremental ones, probably many more. And from those that involve the big companies to the bottom ones that lift the poor. Such an approach requires socio-institutional innovation. We need to break the silos in government. We need to cooperate across ministries and across local governments and between ministries and local governments, and separate clearly between institutions and personnel that deal with major projects and big companies and the ones that support and promote bottom-up production and innovation. I'll be speaking a little bit about that later. They require different skills. They require different instruments. How are innovation and development strategies connected? Can innovation policy be made from innovation ministry? Can they be implemented from their narrow remit? An innovation ministry is something that covers all innovation. So how could they work as if they were disconnected from the other institutions? And yet we have been doing this for a long time, having a special innovation ministry, Science and Technology Council, Science and Technology Ministry. It's this place where we're actually doing something that's intrinsically tied to the development strategies. It's completely disconnected from the finance ministry. So who funds? All sorts of decisions have to be made across the board. So the question is, how are those multi-stakeholder platforms set up, the ones that are needed for innovation that's all-encompassing? How are consensus actions designed and arrived at? Do we know that? Do we know these things? Have we learned? The separate silo structures that still characterize ministries and local governments are an inheritance from the old mass production revolution. They are not fit for purpose in the information age. If ministries or councils of science and technology survive, they must become trans-ministerial institutions promoting multi-actor collaboration. What are the differences between business and socio-political innovation? Can we take it for granted that socio-institutional innovation can be understood with the same theory that explains business innovation? Do we really innovate constantly along an S-curve? Do we really start out with some radical innovation and then make innovations competing and get to the top? That's not so. A policy is actually something that you implement. You can innovate in it, but it doesn't really have the same conditions as you have when you are in a competition environment in the market. This is a completely different thing that affects a whole range of things. We need to understand it better. Have we done the research? Have we done the field work? Do we realize that since there is no competition, the drivers and the measures of success might be fundamentally different? Do we collaborate with public administration researchers? They do study how government functions, but do they study innovation in government? I'm not sure. I haven't seen that much, and I've been looking. Do we read them? Because at least we should understand how governments function. Are we assuming that public policy innovation is simple stuff, that we just say what to do and then it can be done? The innovation policy community has a huge black hole regarding institutional innovation. Every publication ends with policy recommendations. Do we really know how such recommendations are to be implemented? Don't they require innovation? We are in debt with theory. We are in debt with policymakers and with the populations whose lives we wish to improve. The issue of opportunities for development as a moving target. Technological revolutions in the advanced world are constantly changing what developing countries can do. Yes, it's what happens in the developing world that determines the space of opportunity that we have. This is something that has been seen throughout history, and that is what happens. And what happened before cannot be repeated. The time for import substitution came and went. The time for the leap of the four tigers is gone. The time for the rise of China has passed too. Global value chains are now less obvious as an opportunity. They're still there, but they're not as dynamic as they used to be. The green transition, which is urgent, it's not clear. We don't know exactly how to get with it to competitiveness. What are the conditions? What is it exactly that we need to do? We're all experimenting, but are we studying that? Could it be that consumer goods production is moving to the developing world? That's a possibility. China wants to go up the value chain. The West is not so happy that everything is in China. Maybe that's an opportunity that's opening, just as the materials processing. Could it be done now in situ with green energy sources? Maybe we are not just extractive anymore. Maybe the developing world can now become also a processing world. Successful development strategies respond to the opportunities, and both policy innovation and innovation policy must be fit for purpose. And there is no guarantee that what worked before will work again. My final point is the issue of separating top-down and bottom-up innovation. To begin with, the fact that we must do both top-down and bottom-up innovation. The information revolution has led to both globalization and localization. Any corner of the territory of any country can develop as long as it is connected to the internet. Of course, anybody that's not connected to the internet it's out of the global world. So one of the main things that any government has to do is to make sure every single citizen, every bit of territory is covered by the internet, because that means that people belong to the world. Developing countries then can adopt a positive dual model. Not the way we used to think of dual economy as something bad. We can now turn it to be a thing good, both looking out to generate wealth in terms of possible export possibilities and looking in to generate well-being. We have to have well-being as a goal. This idea that we just have to develop and get jobs. It's not just about jobs. It's about the quality of life that results. And of course, you have to have jobs. You have to produce. You have to create wealth. Otherwise, you cannot distribute. The whole idea of redistribution is completely tied to redistribution, to wealth creation, so that you can actually then be able to make lives better. But that has to be in the goal directly, not as a final afterthought that happens when you grow. So we need to innovate both top-down and bottom-up. I want to show you a possible integrated dual model with converging processes of sustainable growth and innovation. So we have, on the one hand, global growth sectors, sustainable production networks, constantly modernized, because if you're going to be in the world market, you've got to be modernized. You've got to go up constantly to higher value added, higher innovation, more competitive, more sustainable technologies for global markets. But on the other hand, we can have specialized, partly interconnected local economies with differentiated development of each portion of the territory based on the local productive vocation identified or promoted for the domestic market or for export, supported by full access to internet, I repeat. So what's the objective of this part of the economy? Growth, employment, and foreign exchange generation. And what's the objective of this part of the economy? To improve the quality of life of all urban and rural dwellers. The whole population has to be a goal, but innovation is an instrument. And what does the state do? It's an active promoter, funder, and facilitator of consensus and local initiative. The state coordinates, creates missions, creates direction, and then with differentiated policies, providing human capital, funds, physical and technical infrastructure, it gets the whole game together. Policy innovation for the global growth sectors will be different from the local growth ones. And the institutions involved must be different too, as well as the policy instruments. You can have institutions that are dealing with global strategy and institutions that are dealing with local strategy. They require different skills. They require different instruments. They are practically like two different worlds, and yet they're both dealing with innovation. They're both dealing with development. Only with wealth creation can proper redistribution occur. But wealth creation can also be a part of pre-distribution. Inclusive development is not about job creation only. It is also about good life creation. It must promote innovation and investment in situ. The people themselves. It's perfectly possible now for people to organize production themselves. The townships cannot wait until full development is achieved. And our job as innovation policy scholars must involve understanding and promoting policy and institutional innovation to support action at both ends of the spectrum. Thank you.